All right, so it's been a while since I put anything on my channel. I've been at home helping my wife take care of the new baby for a while. And now I'm back to working full time, which means that because my work is not that busy, I have some time in the truck here to talk about stuff. And so I wanted to share a few topics that I've been thinking about and see what is most interesting to people and what you would like to hear more about. So the first one I wanted to talk about is replacing Tolkien and Lewis. And I'm not actually trying to replace them, but you know, I think they are such huge figures in like the world of fantasy and in Christianity, and where those two things intersect, and how we use fiction to learn truth. And of course, they were brilliant writers, brilliant scholars. You know, they had this academic firepower behind them, which I think, you know, obviously it did really help them, and what they put out was top notch. But it really also was genre creating works, and I think that they would probably be a little bit disappointed in the fact that, you know, we have so much study and discourse about Lord of the Rings and about the Narnia series, and, you know, people are getting PhDs studying this stuff, and we're going so analytical in all of it, and we're neglecting everything that's come after it. I think that, you know, Tolkien seemed like he might be a little snob, and he probably wouldn't respect the others so much that didn't, you know, because, you know, his level of detail with like creating all the languages and stuff was so intense that, you know, he just went super deep in all that stuff. But even so, I don't think that's the part that is most meaningful to most people. I think really it is the story, and people don't need as much data to back up the world and the backstory. You know, which is that was his criticism of Lewis and Narnia. But I think, you know, overall, Narnia is it's a lot easier to jump in. And anyway, so while I don't want to discount their contributions, obviously, I think that we need to give a little bit more thought to some writers that have come since them and some series. And as I was thinking about it, I say, like, the one that probably gets the most attention after them, unfortunately, is Harry Potter. And Harry Potter, you know, I mean, she just basically said she was putting all the tropes in there and giving people the pattern of Christianity that they anticipate in a story like that. But it's also another British story. And I think that one of the problems that we have is this thing of, you know, the world has become disenchanted. And most of us living in America does not have the mythological history that like Europe does. And so we are trying to import that from there. And what happens with that is then you kind of have the LARPing people, you know, whether they live in a Tolkien world or some other fandom, or even if they are going hardcore after Catholicism or Eastern Orthodoxy. You know, I'm not going to question the motives of everybody who's doing that, but for some, there definitely is this kind of LARPing aspect of it. And I think that what we need to do instead is take this crummy country with its like commercialism and its Walmarts and its rednecks and all this stuff, and we have to figure out how to extract the mythological meaning and the purpose from that. And I think that we can do that. And there's other authors and books that have, to me, made that more visible. And I think we need to have a little bit more deeper discussion of that. So finding the American Tolkien and the American Lewis or Lewis's. And we might not get somebody that's all in one package, you know, but that's kind of the way of things. Somebody writes a great book, and then that produces 10 books that are not the equal to it, but they expand and expound on the concepts in 10 different ways. So the totality of the 10 books is greater than the sum of the one that influences them. And at this point, we're generations beyond that. Like, there's so many stories out there that you can trace to, Tolkien and Lewis as influence. Some of them bad because they're just trying to capture that lightning in a bottle and be successful, but many others are very good and have a lot of unique aspects that they've pulled out about it, and different things they've incorporated in. So that's something I'm interested in talking about. If that would interest you, please let me know. Another topic is about this Christian nationalism conversation, and I just started reading the book A Case for Christian Nationalism, and I already kind of in reading the reviews of it and stuff, I'm like, I don't think I'm going to agree with this guy. I still kind of feel that way. I'm trying to give it a chance. There are some other aspects of it that I do think, should Christianity have a bigger influence on the culture? Absolutely. I kind of feel like the approach that everybody's trying to take is the wrong one. And honestly, that's a big impulse behind what I'm trying to do with my other channel, with the Tectonic School, because I think that rather than trying to attack this thing from the top down, it would be better to start at the foundation, at the local level, local churches, local people, strengthening those bonds of community and pooling our resources and expanding our influence from the ground upward. And if we do that in a successful way, we can have a great impact on our culture without having to officially call ourselves a Christian nation or anything like that. It just seems like it's a better place to put our effort, rather than aiming it squarely at the political. So if that's something that would be interesting to you, let me know. The third topic, which is a little bit related to that, but it's really about how do we integrate the virtual and the online world with the real world in a realistic way, and how do we deal with technology that's coming along, AI and all these other things, and there's tons of it really that does impact us in new ways, and it all creates new problems that we have to solve and new ways we have to think about things. And similarly to what I'm saying about the people that want to escape into Lord of the Rings world, that impulse to just say technology bad and become Amish or whatever, it's just not going to work. It's not realistic. It's not sustainable. We're not equipped to really do it. And we kind of have to figure out a way to live with these things, and I think redeem them and use them to the glory of God. But figuring out how to do that is, it's going to be a little bit of a difficult journey, I think. So that's something we could talk about. And the other idea that's kind of connected to that is, everybody has these terrible fears, these dystopian fears of living under a totalitarian system, a technocracy, or just a bad governmental system. And my thought is, well, first of all, every fictional account we have of those, well, maybe except for 1984, there's usually some way that the people live in it or escape it or overturn it. And I think that, that is a good impulse. But I think that when we just oppose this stuff so vehemently, we have to also consider the fact, what if we lose? What if totalitarian powers take over? How will we act? How will we respond? What will we do? And I think, there's fear on both sides. That there's a fear of a leftist totalitarian regime, and then there are fears of a right-wing totalitarian regime, or there's fears that people that are proponents of Christian nationalism are going to impose a totalitarian regime and kill all the liberals or something. I don't know. So, like, how do we deal with that stuff? Just, I think it's a thing that bears some consideration. And then the last topic is kind of just more stuff about Bible study, because something interesting is that my wife and I are going to be taking over a position at our church, in charge of like the youth and the young adult ministries and the children's ministries as well. Probably going to be delegating a little more of that and more directly involved with the older kids. And one thing we're probably going to start doing is a Bible study every Sunday morning, like a Sunday school. And, you know, I have some ideas that I think will make it interesting, you know, riffing off of the approach Peterson takes, not so much in his content, like what he's trying to get across, but just in that open exploratory model of, like, let's see what's here, and like, well, let's assume that it makes sense and it's trying to tell us something important. And so I'm thinking maybe I could just film those and put them out every week, and if people are interested in that, I will do it. I might just do it regardless, because that way, if anybody misses it, they could see it. And yeah. So anyway, those are some things that I've been thinking about. So if anybody's interested in any of that stuff, let me know. If you want to just hear my thoughts about it, I will drone on in my car about that. If you want to have a conversation about any of these things, we could do that. And if anybody wants to have a conversation on my other channel about all things related to work, faith, how those things interact, you know, and you know, that's really a big part of the project, is answering many of these questions, because it's helping people figure out how to live. And I think that, you know, we start from the ground up. We start with shoring up these relationships, teaching people the things that they're not learning in school, providing a fatherly example to young men that don't have that. And this is like, as a model, it could be taken many ways. You know, women could do a similar thing with, you know, all this lost shadow matriarchy and the maternal skills. Like, a similar thing could be set up that could help the women. So these are some of the ideas that I'm having. If anybody wants to have a conversation, let me know. I'm still trying to keep you know, at least one video out a week on the other channel, a conversation, and I have some other shorter stuff that I plan to put out, but I'm trying to do it professional like, so not from sitting in my car. Anyway, those are some of my thoughts, and please leave comments and let me know what you think of those topics, and I will come out with more stuff, hopefully on a more regular basis. Thank you.